Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks. In an effort to better understand my enemy, I've decided to give a little bit of Cortex play to you guys today. I'm going to be looking at a game that I played pretty recently, and I'm going to be analyzing myself. So this is a bit of a viewer critique, but the viewer is me. But yeah, I was trying out Cortex, and I was also trying out solar panels because I've been bashing on them a lot, and so I wanted to give them their fair try. Wouldn't be a impartial critic if I didn't actually try some of the things that I bash on all the time. So gotta give them their fair dues here. But I'm gonna be trying out Cortex in this match, and I really want to see exactly what happens so that I can learn from it, and maybe you guys can too. So the build that I decided to go for was two metal extractors, one solar panel, right into a lab, a bot lab, then into another solar panel. Then I'm going to get a grave robber out to eat up all this juicy metal all over the place. Our metal vision should kick in any second here, but you can see there's metal tied up in all these rocks here. Today, this game, well not today, but during this game, was played on All That Glitters. I hardly feel like I need to even introduce this map at this point, but yeah, All That Glitters is a really popular one. It's very, in many ways, it's a very simple map, but on the other hand, there are actually some really interesting complexities to it, so it is fun to see. After that, I did pump out a couple of grunts. As far as Cortex is concerned, I've learned that this is usually a good idea because I've been teaching Armada players to start sending units across the map almost immediately. And I watched a fellow get destroyed by 3 ticks early into the game, a different match, and I realized, I might have done that. So I realized that maybe getting a couple of grunts out and about on the field is probably a pretty good idea. These ones I'm going to send over to protect my grave robber who's eating up all these juicy metal bits. By the way, for this match, I am gonna focus like really heavily on myself. If that's not something you're interested in, if you'd rather I take a grander scope, I'd say give this video a try and just see how you like it. But I can totally understand if that's not really the content that you're looking for. I'm just doing this to help improve my own game, but I think there's probably a lot of people that it will help. I'm very, very mediocre at Cortex, and I think I am probably below the average as far as skill goes with Cortex, so I think it might be valuable to see somebody learning the ropes, and maybe you guys will find some imperfections in my gameplay that you can point out in the comment section, so I'd love to hear those as well. Anyways, expanding forward with the commander, I kind of regret this. I think I wish I would have just moved the commander forward and built an outpost here. We can see SS99 is doing a great job of keeping this area nice and choked up. I did send some grunts across. I was trying to do some early harassment, but there's not a whole lot of great paths here. Sergeant Kick-Ass is moving up right now, so I can't go that way or I'm going to run into his commander. There's a light laser turret here, and I don't really want to fight that with 3 grunts. So it's kind of gonna, it's gonna be hard to find those grunts into the back line here. Eventually getting a construction bot out. Meanwhile, ticks and rovers are decimating the back lines over here, being a constant pain. It's a testament to Big Pat's skill, making sure to constantly be harassing in the back line. I was lucky that I had some grunts over here. Although I think I probably should have rallied those a little bit differently. I see the grunt army marching forward. Looks like I could have done a little better if I just sent these grunts in through this direction. Could have popped up in the back line of our brown player here, Sergeant Kick-Ass. I actually found like the one spot that had some sort of mounted defense in all those little rally points, so that's unfortunate. I don't know why this snuck through. This definitely should have been mopped up a whole lot sooner. You can see these blitzes getting a really free kill on this this construction bot, as well as the metal extractor. I was lucky that I had these grunts here. I think that's probably a good idea, is to just continue building grunts. Thugs might be a good option too, although if I had thugs, I think it would have been too slow to keep up with these blitzes. So I think I'm happy with the grunts. But yeah, the grunts did a good job of mopping up these blitzes. I was actually pretty surprised with how well they mopped up those blitzes. This guy's coming to steal my metal. No, that's my lane partner. As long as they can get it, I don't really care. This was the wrong decision. Okay, so this is definitely something I should have improved up, or well, at the very least done better here. Building these fortifications doesn't really matter, because at this point I should know that I'm going up against vehicles. And if you're going up against vehicles, you're going to go up against artillery, which can outrange any of this. So I should have known here that building these defenses isn't really going to be very valuable. That, and also the blitzes can just shoot right over the walls. So yeah, that was a waste of time and metal, and I really would have been a whole lot better just walking in here and de-gunning as much of this army as possible. And for going bots, I'm going to be punished by constant run-bys here. You can see 10 blitzes marching through, and it takes out at least 3 of my metal. Well, I don't know if there's one on this plate, but at least a couple of metal extractors here as I try and deal with this. A lot of vehicle starts, yeah. Yeah, res bots are going to be really important in this match, and they'll be important in any vehicle starting match. At this point, tearing apart my economy. Both me and Purple suffering from really early blitz aggression here. There's definitely a new meta, and it's centered around the blitz. Especially on big open maps like this, big flat maps like this. Yeah, the blitz is looking absolutely unstoppable. They ravaged not only our front line, but also a couple of blitzes managed to get into the back line here and start causing problems. And I decided to pull my forces away and focus on the front line. I need to start up metal extractors ASAP. Looks like, okay, yeah, I do queue a few. Meanwhile, I'm hitting a wicked power stall, so I also need to get some windmills out. I really should have started advanced solar panels a whole lot sooner. Or just a big windmill farm with a couple of these constructors. I think maybe 2 constructors working on windmills will put one up in like 10 seconds, I want to say. So that's definitely one option. Oh, this is really nice. SS-99 building beamers instead of light laser turrets. Higher cost, but also makes it so that rocketeers and such can't actually attack here, which is it's really good move. I think ultimately the problem here is that I didn't go vehicles. I think if I had gone vehicles, this probably would have gone a little bit smoother. Certainly the lineup would have been, or the matchup would have been a little bit fairer here. The grunts are pretty good against the blitzes, I have to say. They do a decent job. They're just fast enough that they can still be annoying, but they're not as fast as the blitz. But they're, if you position right, you should be able to catch them. At this point, I was surprised to see Purple moving away from the blitzes that were headed down this direction. That was not good to see. I'm also suffering heavily from the artillery fire here. This poor construction turret trying his very best to get some sort of value by putting up these turrets, but it really just isn't going to be worth much. These shell shockers here being absolutely devastating. What I probably should have done is jumped on top of these with a bunch of grunts. Oh yeah, and then our teammate leaves. That was the other. Yeah, this guy in this lane just decided he wasn't willing to play anymore. But you know, it is what it is. Things became tricky because suddenly now I have Cortex and Armada to deal with. Hard not to default back to Armada, but I did force myself to continue playing Cortex. I should have moved the commander in here. I distinctly remember when I was playing that it was really impossible for me to tell what this army actually was, because I constantly thought there was tanks here. I guess there were tanks from Sergeant Kickass that were helping, so that's where those tanks were actually coming from. It wasn't this army alone. Also, huge APM stall here. Look at this, just parking my army right under artillery. Ugh. Yeah, room for improvement for sure. One strategy that I've seen that would probably have worked really well here actually is you comb bomb this central area right here, just to wipe out all these defenses. I don't know if you could do it in time with this many beamers. You might not get far enough, but if you can comb bomb this, it actually could be a really, really effective way of clearing this area. You just have to make sure that your army isn't caught in the crossfire. Yeah, at this point I've got 2 commanders building windmills. I've almost got a T2 lab up. I think the timing on the T2 lab was probably okay. I definitely could have been reclaiming off the front lines a little bit harder. That's certainly something to work on here. I was given a T2 from my backline, which is always lovely to see. Zero Renegade handing out a T2. Didn't even have to ask. And yeah, starting up those T2 metal extractors. So it really is just a race against the clock here. I inherited a couple of Janus, so that's always nice. But yeah, man, I think I really just needed vehicles. The more I'm looking at this, the more I'm realizing that the bot matchup just isn't strong enough here. And I think I definitely would have been a whole lot more comfortable if I had a bunch of tanks out on the field. I would have been more comfortable pushing into this army right here, and I would have been, I think overall, it just would have worked out a little bit better. Yep, every time one of these pushes comes through, red is certainly, or is sure to push through again as well. They've done a really tremendous job this game of any time the front line gets broken, they apply pressure immediately, which is a really nicely done. This line is so strange because red is back here, which is like red's line is here and Sergeant Kickass's line is here, but they're fighting they're fighting opposite. So Sergeant Kickass is over here and red was over here. It's really odd, but that it means that Big Pat is taking the opportunity wherever the openings are. You can see I'm getting absolutely ravaged on this left side. I finally managed to get some T2 out. Trying my very absolute hardest to get fiends out on the field here. I do hate them, but I know how strong they can be. With all those windmills down, my power is absolutely devastated. Although the wind was really terrible anyway, so it's not like I was losing too much. No, it was though. It was a couple hundred energy, so it really could have made a difference. Grunt kind of blocking my fiend here, jogging my style, cramping my style. I mean. And you can see just how early that aggression translated directly into an advantage. Tearing down this player's economy early on, getting my early solar panels early on. It translated almost directly to a bigger army, a stronger force, a quicker growth, and eventually more holes in the front line were poked. I think the purple player here on the front line did a decent job of securing this, but I definitely let them leak through a little bit too quickly. And once they had already broken this choke point, there was basically no way to get it back under control here. Yep, this was really discouraging seeing these T2 on the front line already. I was hoping to get another advantage and potentially cap the genie, put it back in the bottle using these fiends, but that was not the case. They already had them out and about, and that was pretty powerful stuff. Meanwhile, I've got a T2 constructor of my own, T2 Cortex constructor. Rebuilding these metal extractors. That's something that I always preach, but it's definitely a difficult thing to remember when you're sitting there in the game. The metal extractors that go down, you kind of neglect them because you're thinking like, oh well, it's just it's just a couple metal per second, right? I'm building these advanced metal extractors, I shouldn't really have to worry about it. But no, you definitely do. It can definitely be a huge problem. What am I going up against back here? It looks like we're already on T2, so we are producing T2 units. We don't have T2 energy production, so I'm starting up a fusion reactor at this point, but they are not, and so I think... I wonder if I would have been able to secure an advantage if I had just built the fusion reactor and then gone straight into unit production. That might have been able to turn the tides a little bit here. Unit production and also upgrading all the metal extractors. What are the lines like over here? Yeah, you can see vehicles being very, very dangerous. Loads and loads of reclaim here. Very nicely done by Zara Renegade to get some butlers out on the field to eat up all this metal. 4,500 metal. Yeah, absolutely worth getting something on the field for it. How's front doing? Do I still do air? Air is pretty important on this map. There's almost always going to be somebody doing bombing, so getting some fighters out is almost always valuable. Saw some tanks moving around over here. That's why radars are so important. You can actually position your units in, you know, an effective way. Just a little thing, but that's definitely something that I think I did all right on. Unit positioning. These fiends, however, were all really low health, and I didn't realize that, so I jumped in here with a whole lot less than I actually thought I had. I think it actually gave confidence to this player, who like wiped away that army and was like, "Oh, is that all you got? Okay." You can see the queue that I was very optimistically going for here. 5 Sheldon, radar jammer, a sumo, 5 fiends, arbiter, manticore, and a scuttle. Will that happen? Well, spoiler alert, the answer is no. These hounds are absolutely carrying this front line, though. They're keeping the peace here. Asking for help. Sounded a bit sarcastic, but I was genuinely just asking for help here. I didn't have, I just had these Sheldon out, which, I mean, they're good, and they can do good work against these tanks, but it just takes forever, so they're not really a very fast counter. The Fiend would have been a whole lot better, but I didn't realize that I was not on that part of the production cycle at the moment. There we go. That gets mopped up. Meanwhile, T2 artillery is out and about for the red player here, and you can see that the push and pull, the usual push and pull of this game is you have a T2, or you have the when you go T2, you lose a little bit of ground, and then when you go when you finally get those T2 units out, you gain a little ground. However, if the enemy can do enough damage with that T1 push into your base, and then they reclaim all that, they can just tech up alongside you, and that's exactly what you're seeing here. You can see they've claimed all of this space here. They've upgraded phenomenally. They've upgraded their metal extractors, SS99, as well as Big Pat here. And once that happens, what you end up with is this sort of scenario where you've used the advantage of pushing to fund a tech transition, which is, I mean, just ideal for obvious reasons. At this point, finally have enough Sheldons that I feel comfortable trying to start moving in a little bit on the front line here. Not super comfortable, though, because I do see that they have their own Sheldons, and I'm not really, not too keen to jump on top of those. I know how bad they are, or how devastating they are, because I'm using them. Bunch of Jaguars pushing around the side here. These are really difficult to deal with, too. Those lightning tanks. Renegade points them out very nicely. How do Sheldon do against these? I'm curious about this matchup. Oh, they're actually not too bad. It's about 10% per hit with one of these Sheldon shots. So Sheldon can actually do a little bit of work on these. You can see them absolutely tearing apart my grunts, though. And this is absolutely devastating, the amount of harassment that's leaking into my backline here. Started even eating these up just to kill them a little bit quicker. Luckily for Zara Renegade, or luckily for me, Zara Renegade was here in time, so I was able to recover from that, you know, in a decent amount of time without losing too much. But certainly it shut down the aggression on the front line here. This, are these just dump firing? They are just dump firing. Okay. And the range on that is not too bad. This, you can see my plan here. had a scuttle out. I was very eager to use it. There we go. We wipe away all those lightning tanks with a nuclear crawler. But of course, Town Hall was right in position with some artillery here, so I couldn't really push in. This entire game, Town Hall's really just had a bunch of artillery. Definitely should have applied a whole lot more pressure to that army, specifically. I mean, look at this. This is Sheldon and Mausers, so it's really artillery heavy. Could have done a whole lot of more damage there, but I myself didn't even have the units to fund it. You can see I already made the mistake of not rebuilding these metal extractors too. I'm slipping. I have the fusion reactors, so what I probably should have done is taken this advanced construction worker and started building advanced metal extractors. They are worth it. Almost always. Snipers are out on the field, and those are very nice. Really good way to get a tremendous amount of efficiency out of a relatively simple army. Oh, a tremor is out. Hold on, I want to see this. Siege mode. Switches between focused suppressive fire and long-range inaccurate siege mode. That is long range, and it's fairly inaccurate. I want to see the other mode though. Was this the default mode, or is this like a different mode? It looks like the AoE is way larger. Huh. Well, anyways, I've been curious about that. I don't play Cortex enough to know how to get to T2 vehicles. We've got some lightning tanks. Luckily, I had enough here to deal with those, but the spam was starting. That was the real problem. The Sheldon are pretty great for tearing down this static defense, but I needed it torn down 5 minutes ago. I also don't really have much to follow this up with, right? I don't have an army I can push in here with. I really wish I had another scuttle, try and work a scuttle in here, but if they have radar, it's game over. In fact, I even started a Juno at some point, I think. Oh, I did start up some more of these metal extractors. Oh, okay. Surprising even myself. This right-hand side has collapsed pretty badly. You can see that the choke point here has been mopped up, and there's not a whole lot remaining in terms of defense here. Bombers have started to get through, and I think our fighter screen, well, it's nowhere near the fighter screen of the pink player here. I mean, the pink player has been dedicated. Blue has been getting forces out, so it's not like they're, you know, it's not like it's been a fair fight here. Definitely the amount of anti-air isn't going to be sufficient. These bombers are going to march through. I'm only switching perspectives because mine is basically lost. That many Mausers out on the field, and it's going to be really hard to push in with anything. I kept imagining that I would eventually land a scuttle on this. That was like my you know, my dream here was to plant a scuttle on the on top of all these things. You can see I'll keep producing these, and I'll keep sending them out. Oh, it would have been such a juicy hit to just get a scuttle right in the middle of all this, but nope. He was really good about keeping this army pulled back and under static defenses, and constantly making sure that it wasn't overexposed, which is just very nicely done. Frustrating to not be able to take advantage of that. But what can you say? It was just very nicely done. Commander goes down to a huge push of Tiger tanks over on the right-hand side. And that means that that side of the map is going to start to fall. I honestly didn't even notice. I was way too preoccupied. I was laser focused. I was in the zone, and I was basically convinced that this was a game over. You can see that Mauser can actually fire at the radar blips and shut down my scuttle, despite my best efforts. Really, really annoying. Did we have somebody build a pinpointer on their team? I wonder if there's a pinpointer in the back line somewhere here. I don't see it. But it wouldn't surprise me because these shots are becoming more and more accurate here, which is really annoying. It's really annoying. It's really great if you're that player, but it's really annoying if you're me. And then you can see the T1 medium tanks, again, just being absolutely brutal here. Pushing forward. They do catch some of these snipers. And the front line is essentially collapsed. Where does this all trace back to? Again, I think it traces back to that early game blitz play. I think I'm definitely going to have to look into that if I'm going to be competitive on this map. And on any big open flat map, I think blitz play is probably the new meta. Because it's really hard to deal with. See, another scuttle went up right there. I was trying to get it. Again, imagine what a juicy hit it'd be to self-destruct a little scuttle right there. Ooh, feels so good. At this point, I do have Sheldon. Sheldon don't really beat Mauser, though. Only in the sense that Mauser can't fire when they retreat. It's really the only thing. But yeah, my army just isn't big enough. So I think another option is probably to take the take the first fusion reactor and just pump units out once I have that first fusion reactor up and running. And from there, start using start basically just using that T2 advantage a little bit more to keep snowballing. Oh, this was a nice little play here. Bulls were in the back line, so I sent the scuttle in, self-destructed it, solved that problem pretty nice and neatly. A nuke is launched. Where is this targeted? Missed a little bit. That actually could have been really, really nice if it had hit when these were all clumped up together. But now these Mauser are moving in basically a straight line. Yeah, the spam. I definitely didn't have any counter to the spam. I tried launching Junos, but I think I was just way too late with these. Really should have been launching those Junos. I should have built a Juno way earlier into the match, I think. Do Junos kill rovers? I'm curious if they kill rovers. Another nuke is launched. Oh. Well, that one wasn't as effective. T3 finally hits the battlefield. But yeah, we've definitely lost by this point. Trying to build more economy. Sheldon, less than ideal for countering these spammy units here. And things suddenly do not look so good. We decided to tap out, and so congratulations to the red team for absolutely kicking our ass in this beyond all reason game. I want to take a look at these graphs here, though, because I'm not quite done. I want to do a final wrap-up where I talk about this game, my thoughts on it. So personally, my growth was sort of middle of the range, a little below average in the later parts of the game. Surprisingly, well, to me anyways, Zero Renegade and also our blue player, can't remember the name, but both of them did manage to build a pretty sufficient eco here. But it looks like, yeah, I mean, basically every eco beneath that, the next 4 highest ecos were all red team players, so I guess it doesn't really matter in the end there. Now I think this entire game, move this out of the way here. I think this entire game came down to that early blitz aggression when Big Pat was pushing those blitzes through on the side here and kind of just patrolling them on the front line. Big Pat's front line was basically just held together by a bunch of light laser turrets right across here. But sending those blitzes through on this line and then harassing, on this line and harassing the purple player, that was really what did it in for the entire right side, I feel. That combined with the blitzes that were sent forward by either the yellow or the tan player here. I can't remember which one it was. But they sent blitzes through as well and ravaged the line like this. And then went all the way into the back line here before they were finally dealt with. Both of those dealt tremendous damage to these lanes. And on this map specifically, you're supposed to win this lane. If you're not winning this lane, then it's gonna be tremendously harder to win anywhere else. I guess another way of saying that is this is the easiest part of the map to win, this little choke point here, because if this falls, then it's really, really easy to collapse in on the base over here. So that being said, tremendously well done by Town Hall to keep artillery in this position so that there was just no way to push forward here. And then in our yellow player here, SS99 did another, just as well, did a tremendous job of constantly keeping units up and teching up when the metal was present there. Anyway, I think that's about all I have to say about this match. If you enjoy these sort of specific critiques, I will plan to be doing more of them in the future. I kind of want to practice, and I guess that's why it's nice that I'm doing this one on myself. But I want to practice the format, so let me know if you have any comments down below on things that you'd like to see changed or ideas you might have. Always happy to read those comments. Gives me a little endorphin rush every time I get one of those. But other than that, I just appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next video.